Note that by the time of this recording, Blade Runner 2049 has still not been released, and will not be released until the week following. That being said, this is not a review. Rather, it's a comment on expectations, hopes, and dreads I have on the upcoming sequel. Earlier this year, when I saw the trailer to Blade Runner 2049, the first reaction I had was I turned to my dad and I asked, "What's the point? The original takes place 2 years from now." All joking aside, I'm happy to announce that, oddly enough, I am actually looking forward to the sequel coming out. Now, I know what a great deal of you are probably thinking. The original was a classic masterpiece of science fiction cinema. How on earth could anyone be looking forward to the sequel? It can't possibly live up to the original. Well, first off, I realize that it can't. And I'm kind of hoping it doesn't. So how could I possibly be looking forward to it? Allow me to point out another classic masterpiece of science fiction cinema, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Directed by the legendary Stanley Kubrick and written by sci-fi great Arthur C. Clarke, 2001 is often regarded as one of the greatest achievements in science fiction history, like Blade Runner. And like Blade Runner, it's placed in the United States Library of Congress being deemed as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant, and was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry. Also like Blade Runner, the plot is total crap. Sorry to disappoint, but I don't watch these movies for the plot. I couldn't care less about black rectangular blocks that somehow influenced the evolution of mankind any more than I couldn't for a rogue cop hunting fugitive robots. That's not to say I don't enjoy these movies, I do! However, I enjoy them for entirely different reasons. To me, they're more like cinema art pieces. In the case of 2001, with its use of classical music, such as Also Sprach Zarathustra by Richard Strauss and the Blue Danube by Johann Strauss II, I see it more as a ballet than an actual storytelling device. I don't know if the case is similar for all of you, but when I watch ballet, I don't focus much on the plot. I focus more on the music and the movement. I mean, I acknowledge there's something going on plot-wise, but my attention is more drawn on everything else going on. The same goes for when I watch 2001. In the case of Blade Runner, I view it more as a moving portrait. Go to a museum and look at the portraits on display. When you do this, you get some feeling, some emotion, some insight on what's going on in the artist's mind, body, and soul. Blade Runner works in a similar way. Take any moment in that movie, put the DVD on pause, and you can just stare at it and reflect on its significant beauty. It's not that unheard of. I know people who do this. I'm one of those people who do this. And it's not ruining the movie by any means. It's just gathering it from a different light. Now, what you may not know is that 2001: A Space Odyssey does have a sequel. 2010, The Year We Make Contact. Released a few decades later in 1984 and directed by Peter Hyams, 2010 does more or less what cinema goers do. Try to figure out what the first film was about. Does it live up to its predecessor? It's a sequel to one of the greatest movies ever made. Do you think it lives up to its predecessor? No! But it doesn't really try to either. It has a rather cohesive narrative, much heavier in dialogue, and it borrows scores from the original. Not that difficult when all the songs are in public domain, but because it doesn't try too hard to imitate the original, it's also a pretty good movie in its own right, despite anybody hardly remembering it. Those are the main hopes I have for Blade Runner 2049. That, like 2010, it doesn't try to live up to its original. 2001 was a stunning visual masterpiece and a puzzling movie, and 2010 tried to fit some more pieces into the puzzle, and I feel it succeeded. Blade Runner 2049, a sequel to an equally stunning visual masterpiece and equally puzzling movie, I hope does the same feat of successfully trying to fit some more pieces into the puzzle. In other words, I hope Blade Runner 2049 becomes this generation's 2010: The Year We Make Contact. One thing I'm not looking forward to, though, is if they answer the question of whether or not Rick Deckard, portrayed by Harrison Ford, is a replicant. That debate was something that was brought to us in the director's cut of the first film, and that's something that they should not take from future generations by answering it. Hey, if you enjoyed this vlog entry, hit like and subscribe and view more of my vlog. Also, if you like, comment below and tell me exactly what this unicorn is doing in my room.